On Tuesday, December 3rd, both Giving Tuesday and International Day of Persons with Disabilities, the Slate Family Foundation announced a historic $30 million donation to 11 of the leading organizations in disability advocacy and healthcare. Among these 11 organizations were Holland Bloorview Hospital, the Rick Hansen Foundation, the CNIB, and Easter Seals Canada, along with several others. Today, we're going to be spending time with Jennifer Churchill, the CEO of Empowered Kids Ontario, one of the recipients of a portion of this significant donation by the Slate Family Foundation. Jennifer is going to tell us how this donation impacts her organization and the community. I'm Grant Hardy. You're listening to The Pulse on AMI Audio. EKO is a membership organization that believes service providers must collaborate and communicate for families of children and youth with disabilities and the children themselves to be able to live their best lives. Jennifer Churchill is the CEO of Empowered Kids Ontario, and she is joining me on the show now. Jennifer, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today.
Grant, it's a pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
So let's start with just introducing Empowered Kids Ontario and really what this work means to you as well.
For sure. So, as many know, Ontario is Canada's most populous province, and we actually have the country's largest pediatric developmental health sector. EKO is a member organization, and we bring together Ontario's developmental health providers. Our members care for kids with disabilities and developmental differences, kids recovering from illness or injury, and kids with complex care needs. Our association is almost 50 years old, but many of our members have been caring for families in their communities for 60, 75, even 100 years. We are really pleased. We have members that are as far east as Ottawa, west to Sarnia, south to Windsor, and all the way up to Sioux Lookout. And really, I get excited about this work because it's an opportunity to ensure and promote that developmental health is seen as an important and essential part of children's health care and an important part of the child health continuum.
What work do you do really to foster child development and rehabilitation for kids with disabilities?
Well, it's interesting because developmental health is an important part of every child's health. It's brain development, it's physical development, it's social and emotional development. And meeting milestones is an important part of any child's development. And some kids meet milestones without any assistance. But 1 in 6, according to the US Centers for Disease Control, 1 in 6 kids have a disability or a developmental need and could really benefit from the opportunity to work with a clinician to help meet those developmental milestones. And we support our members in essentially providing those services. And we do that through a number of ways. One is a focus on investment, research, policies, and programs. And one of the most exciting things that happened, not this year, because we'll save the excitement for later, but previously we had a historic $330 million provincial investment by the Ontario government, an investment in children's healthcare. So it's those types of things that EKO is really committed to in helping our members serve as many kids and families as possible.
I mean, you look at that number 1 in 6, and I think people, sometimes erroneously think that this is some sort of rare thing. But you look at that 1 in 6 number, think about your school or community, and just what a huge number of kids and youth are not taken care of by the one size fits all system, and that really highlights how important the work is that you're doing.
I agree. And the interesting thing is with those 1 in 6, some of those kids only need perhaps a little bit of clinical intervention, a few visits and they're done. Other children actually require much more extensive clinical treatment. And that's essentially the benefit of Ontario's system is you can come and get that light touch of care and be on your way. And others need greater, more intensive service. And we can provide both of those.
Thank you. And so this is really exciting. This is an exciting year for you as we're getting towards the holidays because you received a donation from the Slate Family Foundation. So, can we talk a little bit about, you know, how that happened, how you were selected, also how it felt, and what you're looking at putting it towards?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Grant. This was really, it's been a pretty incredible month, the month of December, celebrating on the International Day of Persons with Disabilities and Giving
Mhm.
Tuesday. Like, what a fabulous way for us to be participating in an historic investment from the Slate Family Foundation. We were invited to join Holland Bloorview in making a submission to the Slate Family Foundation. And our donation, which is $1 million of that $30 million, that $30 million essentially dedicated to addressing disability. So, what are we going to do with that money? Well, our aim is to actually increase access for kids and families to the latest in technology. And in this case, it's Holland Bloorview's clinical brain computer interface, or BCI technologies. And our first step in terms of increasing access to those technologies is to ensure that clinicians know about these technologies and how to use them.
Yeah, so this is really cool. I'm a tech uh, guy. I love technology, so I'm very intrigued by this. Uh, what exactly like are these technologies? What's the best way of kind of like explaining or visualizing how they're going to work and what we can do with
Now, Grant, you're
them?
asking the most non-techie person ever to talk. So here I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you my um, simplest response to
Mhm.
what I understand these to be. And I actually think that what needs to happen next is a fabulous conversation with our friends at Holland Bloorview. But I'm going to tell you, here's what I know it to be.
Okay.
So, absolutely, BCI, brain computer interface, is an emerging and promising technology. It's an access technology. And it's like turning on a switch to control your environment with your mind. So BCIs, they're computer systems that take brain signals and translate them into commands. And parents whose children have had exposure to these technologies have described really important breakthroughs for them. And many of the kids who benefit are nonverbal and have real challenges with movement. And
Mhm.
this technology has allowed participation for kids who may otherwise face some pretty significant barriers to participation. Now, the best way for us to bring more of these technologies closer to families is to actually equip clinicians on how to use them and feel comfortable using them and essentially include them in their clinical toolbox of things that they can offer families in their communities. And that's what we are going to do with the Slate donation is we are going to build the capacity of clinicians to offer access to this technology no matter where you live in Ontario. And that's a really important part of this gift from the Slate Family Foundation. So, right now, if you live in Toronto and if you're lucky enough to be close to Holland Bloorview Kids Rehab Hospital, it's much easier for you to experience or touch this type of technology. But if you're a family that lives out of an urban center, it's a lot harder to find ways to touch such innovation like this. And this donation is going to allow us to bring this type of technology close to so many more families.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I almost feel like I'm kind of understating it even by saying this, but I cannot imagine how frustrating it would be to have the thoughts but have difficulty expressing yourself or communicating with others. So I think this technology just long term and the work that you're doing to expand its use, its application is going to be absolutely fantastic. How do you think or how do you hope this technology will change lives?
Oh, I mean, I actually think that the fact that we can, first of all, bring technology closer to families who may not be near this type of opportunity is going to be life changing. We're also going to change the practice of clinicians, right?
Mhm.
Some of the biggest barriers to using such innovation is the cost associated with that. And the Slate Family Foundation has essentially removed that barrier so we can train so many. And really, if we can increase opportunities for kids and their families to participate in everyday life, then you know what? I think we've actually achieved something really remarkable.
Hmm. Gary Slate from the Slate Family Foundation, the president, uh, mentioned that disability exclusion impacts not just the individuals with disabilities, but also our economy and culture. Totally agreed when I heard this, but it even makes sense more when looking at those 1 in 6 numbers that you mentioned. Do you agree with that comment? And how do you think the work you're doing with BCI technology and more could create a more inclusive world for people with disabilities?
I think this work is so full of promise. And Grant, what the Slate Family Foundation has done, bringing numerous organizations together under that $30 million gift, allows us to raise the profile of not only children, but many other organizations who are highlighted in that remarkable donation. So we need to essentially advocate for the representation of, well, in my world, all children with disabilities, but their families too. There is no reason for participation to be limited because your
Mhm.
child has a disability or a developmental need. And I believe that the Slate Family Foundation donation is going to help change that.
So, a goal of this donation was for so many incredible organizations to collaborate together. You mentioned Holland Bloorview, of course. We know them well and fantastic work that they're doing. How is this going to work and apply to EKO?
Oh, from the EKO opportunity, first, we feel honored to be surrounded by so many incredible national organizations, as well as our colleagues and friends at Holland Bloorview, Easter Seals Canada, March of Dimes, Inclusion Canada. The more that we can work together across the nation, work in collaboration, develop those relationships, I think we strengthen our efforts as a disability community to raise awareness across the nation. And we're excited by that opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fantastic year. A few years coming up here for all this incredible technology that is really going to enhance people's lives in ways that we're just beginning to understand. So fantastic. Thank you for the work that you are doing. So shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about some of the other work that you're doing. You recently announced that applications for your scholarship are open. Can you give us the
Right.
details about that? If people are listening, students interested in applying, how do we do so?
Sure. So the ECO scholarship has been in place since 2011, and we have awarded 77 scholarships to date. Our scholarships are designed for Ontario residents and young people who have received services or care from one of our member organizations. So, yes, the competition is open and it closes April 30th. The best thing for you to do is to visit our website at empoweredkidsontario.ca and you'll find an application form there. We award $3,000 for 1 year towards your tuition, and we are excited to support kids realizing their post secondary dreams.
Okay, thank you. And that's quite a substantial amount too. So that's going to really help kids get into university, college, wherever they're looking at going. So let's talk about the 2025 Spring Symposium. This is really cool and exciting. Tell us more about this event.
Well, EKL loves to bring developmental health providers together, and we're the only event of its kind in the nation. So, in April of next year, we host this event every other year. So, April 16th and 17th next year in Toronto, we'll bring together probably about 350 delegates from Ontario, from across the country, and that's clinicians and researchers and students and trainees and youth and coming together to learn and grow and network together. We've got an amazing lineup of speakers. Love to share
Mhm.
some of those with you. So I can do
Yes,
a
please.
commercial through you. Kicking off our event will be Mayan Ziv, who, of course, is the globally recognized advocacy for accessibility. We have two incredible physicians, Dr. Evdokia Eganastu and Dr. Steve Shearer. They are leaders at Canada's two premier research facilities for pediatric research, talking about developmental precision health, which is pretty awesome. And one of the other things we're doing this year, which will be really interesting, is we're doing a virtual keynote at the end of March that anyone can purchase a ticket to join. And we're going to be listening to Dr. Michael Chang from the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario and Frances Hagen, who is a data scientist
Mhm.
and a former employee of Facebook, coming together to talk about creative ideas to address social media harms. So we think we've pulled together a fabulous program. And of course, we add in concurrent sessions and poster presentations and lots of opportunities for networking. So if anyone is interested in joining us in Toronto next April 16th and 17th, please visit the EKO website. Conference registration is open. And if you can't attend the conference, even think about attending our virtual keynote presentation at the end of March to talk about social media, because we think that this is a really timely and important conversation for the child
Mhm.
health system to be having.
Oh, 100%. So that virtual uh, uh, talk is going to be available via Zoom to the public and the
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
Mhm.
you can purchase admission to that event. If you decide to register for the conference as a whole, then you have access to that virtual event. Not everyone can attend the conference as
Mhm.
a whole, but if you'd like to just attend that virtual event, we'd encourage everybody to do that, and you can find out how to do that on our website.
Right, brilliant. And the conference is open to anybody who's interested,
Everybody
right?
and anybody. Yes,
Ah,
we
that's great.
welcome you all.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a fantastic opportunity. Tell me about the Tribute Awards.
For sure, because you know what, EKO has no shortage of great things and great ways to celebrate fabulous people. So our tribute awards recognize individuals and organizations that are changing the game for kids with disabilities and developmental needs and their families. We offer these awards every other year. That competition is also open. If you know someone in your world who has made a huge difference when it comes to kids with disabilities or developmental needs, please be in touch with us. Do you want me to share with you some of our previous
Yes,
recipients?
please
Last
do.
year we had amazing recipients. So I'm going to go through my list so I don't forget anybody.
Mhm.
We recognized the Honorable David Onley, Lieutenant Governor, who dedicated his career as a journalist and a lieutenant governor to disability and accessibility. We recognize Rapudaman Minhas, who is an Ontario developmental pediatrician who created Our Kids Health, an online platform answering parents and caregivers questions in 10 languages. We celebrated Monica Myers, a young woman with Down syndrome who is modeling on New York runways. We recognized former Senator Jim Munson and Jeanette Munson, who worked for decades to secure a national autism strategy for Canada. We celebrated Liv Mendelson, who's the executive director at the Canadian Centre for Caregiving Excellence, on her work to advocate for a national caregiving strategy. And honestly, we had several others, but I have to mention Louise
Mhm.
Kinross and Grant. You may know Louise, whose blog Bloom is read in 160 countries around the world. And this is just a snapshot of the people that we've recognized last year and previous years. Really important people in the world of disability who have made a difference. So our tribute awards are designed to acknowledge those people. So please, if you have someone in your world, in your network, that you would like to recognize, go to our website and complete those nomination forms and do it soon. The nominations close on January the 17th, and we're really keen to hear from as many people as possible so we can celebrate those award winners at our spring symposium in April.
Wow, and just such a diverse list of awardees too, which is really cool. And I guess it just shows, the scope of the work and the representation that is being done and still needs to be done as well.
And the representation is key, right? I'm sure you know this in your role, in your media role. You talk to all kinds of people, and we want to recognize that, disability affects just about everybody, and you can't, there's no reason to look away. This is the world we live in. We want to celebrate people who are doing really incredible things, and this is one way for us to do it.
Absolutely. And it's those people doing incredible things that you can see every day, and also those people who are behind the scenes that we don't see that are still doing incredible and life-changing things, and all of those people are represented in those awardees. So that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Um, so as we enter 2025, I know you've got a lot of exciting endeavors, that we've already talked about. But what other projects, or also kind of policies and best practices, would EKO like to tackle?
Well, Grant, I think the most important thing for our members, and certainly for the association, is being as creative and innovative and productive as we can to essentially serve as many kids and families as possible. In Ontario, our members serve more than 200,000 kids each year. We do have lots of families waiting to access service, and we are trying to find all kinds of ways in order to make our services more available, more accessible to families, and reduce those wait times. That's been a big thing for all of us, and it is what keeps us up at night as leaders, is trying to find ways to ensure that we can reduce the wait time that families have to access a regulated health professional. Those are important things for us.
Yeah, that's huge. And so people want to, follow what the organization is doing. We can just check out your website at empoweredkidsontario.ca.
Absolutely.
Uh, just wanted to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Anything else that we didn't touch on that you'd like to add?
No, Grant, it was a pleasure to meet you. I'd welcome a further conversation on BCI technologies because you are a
Absolutely.
techie, and I actually think that that probably a conversation with our colleagues and friends at Hall and Bloorview would be incredibly meaningful and very interesting, and probably would make you very happy because there's so much more to understand about how interesting and full of potential that this work is, and perhaps
Yeah,
that's another conversation that we can have together, or you can have with Holland
absolutely.
Blurby.
I mean, it
All
just
right.
sounds so kind of futuristic, almost sci-fi, but this is literally something that is here today that you're working on. Definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely in the future we will do that. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Yes, a pleasure, Grant. All the best. Happy holidays to you and to all the team.
Jennifer Churchill is the CEO of Empowered Kids Ontario and was here to introduce us to the organization and let us know about some of their upcoming events and opportunities, as well as discuss how the historic $30 million donation from the Slate Family Foundation will impact EKO. Our thanks to Jennifer, Nicole, and Shelley from EKO for arranging this interview. On AMI Audio, you can catch the Pulse every 6 hours for the rest of the day, or you can watch it again on YouTube and listen wherever you get your podcasts. As this episode is going up on December 18th, we're going to be taking a break for the holidays, but I'll be back with a brand new episode of The Pulse on January 6th. Thanks so much for listening. I'm your host, Grant Hardy.